Hey, so this video is going to be looking at the Drambo by Beep Street, still in beta, but a lot of the features are becoming finalized. I'm going to look at some of the different samplers and just some of the basic features of those samplers. Sampler is a generator. You can see there are presets, so I have my own presets on this one. On the regular sampler, comes with a couple. Just like there's already samples in there, and you can see. So the sampler, this is it's sort of your typical like multi-sample device. So these are different samples that are mapped to different zones on the keyboard. And you could also have velocity zones if you wanted. This isn't set up for that currently. So it's really good for like creating a sample patch of an instrument that you have recordings of, or sampling within the app itself. But there's a couple different play modes that I'll show you real quick. We'll just create another one. So to load a sample, you click Edit or tap Edit. And then first thing you have to do, you can do one of two things. You can tap in a zone. I'll just make a zone. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. And then you can load your sample. And I've been mostly just like chopping up songs in here. So something I know. So it's set right now to just play in chromatic mode. And it's playing from the like playhead, so we can tap it up a little bit. You'll see it's playing in forward mode. It's just like a bass sample. So you have forward mode, you've got loop mode. And that is going to play, I'm playing on my keyboard right now. Okay, so I think I had it backwards. This is where the sample starts, and then these are the loop points. And that's the control you have right now. You can change the root note if you need to. Let me change it down so you can hear it. You've got loop ping pong mode. So it goes back and forth between the loop points. And then what I've been playing with the most are the chromatic slice modes, and then there's also velocity slice and random slice. So to set your slice points, you just tap in. I'm doing a better job remembering to use my mouse. So now, play different keys, and it's different slice points. Really easy. You can move slices around easily. If you don't want to slice there, you just tap it and it disappears. So if you play a key on a that has no slice, it chokes the sample if you're playing on one voice mode. And then you also have velocity slice, so I can try and be kind of precise with this. This would probably be more useful if you had like different drum samples or something. And then you have random slice, so it will just randomly play any of these slices for any note that I play. And what's nice about this is I can do, like, maybe I want it to be sliced for this zone. But then I would like to, and once I get here, I'd like to use maybe the same sample or a different sample, and I want a completely different mode. I don't necessarily want to do that, but you have the option to combine different zones, do different things with it. If you were like slicing a sample and then you wanted to transpose one of those slices, you would just add in the same sample on a new zone and then change the setting. So you could also just do like individual one zone per key and have more control over your slices that way. And just to show you, if you tap the plus sign, you get a much more zoomed in version of your waveform, and then you can just use the pinch and pull gestures to zoom up really close, so you can like finally edit your samples here. So the other thing you can do, I'm gonna get out of the zoomed in mode. If you want to remove a zone, you just drag it out and it disappears. Apparently it's still hanging out up here in the viewer. You can load a folder. So maybe I want all of my kick samples. You just select current folder, and then it's going to map automatically onto the keyboard. So that's sampler. And then if you back out, it has a couple parameters, just like attack, decay, release. It can be extended a little bit further to like infinite release, so it never cuts the sample off. And then you have pitch, obviously, and then the sampler has gate input, pitch input, velocity, and then like volume. So that's the like sampler. But then you also have flex sampler, and this has a couple different play modes, and some of it is sort of like modulatable. So again, tap in to load a sample. Got my amen break. And I think I have this. So this is not a perfect loop right now. If you want to, what you would do, we can trim the loop area, and then you can also like automatically set 16 slices and 12 slices or normalize the sample. I'm just going to loop this at 1 bar. Okay. And I could be more precise, so I'll zoom in and do it. That sounds fine. So what should happen when I click edit, tap edit, trim the loop area. So this must be the actual like the pointer that I want to use. Edit, or maybe it's both of them. Not exactly sure. Maybe I had it backwards the first time. But that looks okay. Edit, trim the loop area. Okay. Good enough for the purposes of this demo. So a couple different modes that you have in Flex Sampler. There's one shot, which is by default, if we play it on the keys, it's going to transpose it just like normal. However, you can also use this as sort of like a slicer. So right now, if I just tap in, use the keyboard, and I drag offset, that is going to basically tell the sample where it's supposed to start playing. However, if I tap in and then start tapping within the sample, these are going to be my slice points. And so the developer is updating the Flex Sampler. It's going to have more functionality. And then one thing that isn't working correctly is how notes work with the different slices. So like some slices won't play, but that will be fixed, I'm sure. We'll have some more features in Flex Sampler. So now, play at the right pitch. When I change offset, it's just mapped, here I am dragging it around, but it's just selecting the slice that plays. So if I wanted to, I'm going to put down some triggers, but I can modulate the slice point with LFO or really anything. So it's not randomly going through the sample, like hitting wherever that sine wave is. It's selecting the slice to be played. And then we'll stop that. So you'll notice one shot plays like the slice, and then it keeps playing through the sample. One slice, on the other hand, just plays that slice when you have it set to note or velocity or random, whatever. So now I can play, and you'll see it's not like perfect because I'm actually hitting different keys and it's skipping around. So that's one of the things that's being fixed right now. But that's one slice. Loop. Haven't really played around with this too much, but you'll see it loops the sample, and we can set our loop points. Plays from the start, and then it loops on your loop point. And then you have your settings. Loop start, loop end. So that's something I can drag around. And then fade out is basically saying how long it's going to play for. So I'm going to change these back. And then the last is scratch. One other thing in loop. You can sync this like to beat. So I'm playing it, it's 120. Get rid of all of these for you. So it's playing in perfect sync. If I change it to like 2 beats, it's going to sync it to, it's like a 2-beat sample instead of a 4-beat, or longer, whatever. We don't have time stretching currently, but I believe the developer has said that that's coming. Might not be there before release though. And then last mode is scratch mode. This one's really fun. So scratch mode, it doesn't really take any triggers. Nothing's happening. I'm gonna get rid of these just so you can see the sample better. Tap them away for you. So in scratch mode, offset, it's basically just a playhead. Think of it like the needle on a record, or the tape head, playhead on a cassette tape. So when you're just doing this, not super usable, but you can modulate offset. So one of my things that I like to do, modulate it with an LFO. And I think something about it being bipolar, there's like a negative space that with no sample. So we change it from bipolar. You can hear it the whole time. Okay. So that just sounds like someone going to town on a turntable. If we sync the LFO to clock, and then turn it up all the way, and then maybe we change it to saw, so it's just going from 0 to maximum value. It's like a perfect loop. You can then, we can slow this down or speed it up. And you can add multiple modulations at one time. So I could do like, let's add maybe an envelope. Okay, so it's perfectly in sync. I could p-lock this too, so add in like a bunch of trigs, and then I'm gonna do this with my hands. Always in sync. It's always gonna start back up at the right point, and you can do anything. Anything can be modulating offset, either in scratch mode or in other modes. So we could go back to like just one shot. And then I could play like maybe with a CV sequencer. So it's going to play in time, but it might be like playing at weird moments in the sample based on a CV value and where that's going to tell it to go for offset. It's still being triggered by the gate in this setup. So that's Flex Sampler. Stop it. We'll clear out all these samples. Just do it quickly by going to edit, clear. So you can also record, I didn't even reverse the sample, but you can reverse the sample. You can also record into Flex. So I'm going to set up a quick sequence. Okay, so I've got like just a quick sequence set up. You can't hear it, I'll get rid of the sampler. Okay, so that's that. So if we wanted to like record that, mess around with it in Flex Sampler, you can do that. It's generator, go to Flex, and then so it has an sampler. Flex Sampler has an input. It's coming from this module. We can record that. And you'll note over here, it has a record length. You can go up to 16 beats currently, 8 beats. And I can hit record. And it'll start playing. If we tap in, this is something that isn't working properly right now. You can't see the waveform, but it is there if you normalize it. So I'm going to set the track output to come from the Flex Sampler instead. So that is what I recorded, and we can do whatever we want with that. I don't love that, so I'm going to set that up. So you can do this currently in the setup, and I think you'll be able to do it later. There's probably going to be some more recording functionality added, or to make like recording easier. Anyways, I can set the sampler to start recording on beat 1, step 1, and so now it's P-locked. It has a little red signal just for P-lock, and if I go to step, you can see this parameter lock. So it's set to record for 8 beats. That's what the pattern is. When I hit play, it's going to start recording. You can't hear anything, but it immediately starts playing. And if I had a mixer, and it would be okay. You'd be able to hear it while it's going. Now it's being triggered, so I can deselect these. Then it fades away. But let's go into this sample viewer, whatever this is, edit, normalize it so we can see it. If we set slices, maybe I want to do just like random mode. Still playing through, it seems like. Why don't I put some random triggers down? This isn't super musical because I didn't put these down like in any sort of a beat, but they're being triggered randomly. Maybe set it to 16. And I can change the key of some of these. So what I think we're gonna see, the developers working on this, you can like kind of have your slices set up, either put it in a new sample or have the recorded sample be set to play at like 16 slices or whatever. Already have all your triggers and P-lock set up, and you'll be able to do some really fun things. We can reverse it now. Anyways, that's Flex Sampler.